Welcome everyone, I'm Nick.
And I'm Fred, and travel with us into the frightful frontier.
A show where we search for the best horror and sci-fi that humans have to offer.
All right, today we are talking our book of the month, right?
Months. It's turned into months because life.
Yeah, we just got busy with life and it's summertime and there's a bunch of stuff going on and it's hard to sit down and read 600 pages. Yeah. You know, it's...
yeah, plus this was a big book, but you know what, whatever. Book club book, we'll call it that. That doesn't have to be book of the month. Our book club book.
Yeah, but we're back at it. We got some videos recording today, so we got some good content for you guys. But we wanted to talk about this book that we read, written by Tom DeLonge and A.J. Hartley.
Called Sekret Machines. It's book 1 in the series. It's called Chasing Shadows. The whole premise of it was, like, I went into it assuming it was about aliens, and that was about all I knew.
Yeah, the big premise of this book is like it's about aliens, and some of the stories are meant to be true but also fictionalized to help blend that difference between fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah, so, how did they put that? It said something about like using real stories
in a fictional story, essentially.
Yeah, what did they say? It was like basically there's elements of this book that are using real accounts, but then there's the glue that kind of ties it all together is fiction. So yeah, I think there was something like that was how it was put.
Yeah, and this is a big book, and this is part of a series, right?
Yep.
It's 680 pages. I want to say
680, 670.
Yeah, 670. So this is actually the biggest book I've ever read.
I would think the same for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for sure the biggest book I've read. I'm usually around like a 300-page book guy. And I liked it enough. It's a fine book if you've never heard any alien stories in your entire life. It's like, the way I saw it was all the alien stories were alien stories that you heard before.
Yeah.
Just kind of all written down.
Yeah. So the story kind of come together. There's a few different main characters. There's this old man who was in Nazi Germany, and he was put in a concentration camp, and the story that follows that, and you're like, wait, how does that tie into the alien thing? And it does in a really natural seeming way.
Yeah,
how it ties in.
His name was Jersey. Yeah, he was by far my favorite character in the whole book.
See, Alan was my favorite. So that's another one of the storylines. Is Alan is a pilot for the U.S. Air Force, and he's serving in Afghanistan, I believe.
Yeah.
And he sees some unidentified aerial phenomenon. That's the right word for it now, right? UAP, unidentified. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sees that, and then it follows his story. We also follow Tamika, who is she's basically like a conspiracy blogger, debunker kind of person. And then was it Jennifer?
Yes, Rich Jennifer.
Yes, Jennifer, who is the daughter of a really wealthy man in England, and he passes away. And she inherits the money, but she kind of gets tied into the story. And then, did we have anybody else? I think those were the 4 main storylines. But it kind of alternated every chapter, right? It was just those 4?
I want to say there was someone else, but I guess not. Oh, no, there was that couple that got abducted at one point, but they didn't really come back.
Well, that was the Betty and Barney Hill story, which is a real account of... So, like, that was a cool thing that I really liked about this story, that as I was getting into it, I was excited about, was because it was telling this fictional story, and then there would be an account in there that you could tell would tie into the story, but you were like, wait, that's Roswell, or wait, that's the Betty and Barney Hill story. It was like stories that if you're into this kind of stuff, you would recognize, and you're like, okay, how is all of this going to tie together? And I thought that was a really cool take on it. But kind of like you said, it was very generic.
It was very generic, but there's also, you can't really tell like a nonfiction alien story without it being somewhat generic, because we've all heard all this stuff before. So though I am going to be a little harsh on it, and that's mainly because I came in as fiction. Like, I think this is all, for the most part, fiction.
Yeah.
And the writing of it is just stuff you've heard before. So I'm like reading this story and I'm like, I know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't appreciate, basically, is like 600 pages, and you could tell what was going to happen on page, 400 when you were reading page 200.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really... that's just preference for me. I want to see... I'm trying to ask this book to tell me a nonfiction story that I've never heard before, and that's honestly kind of unfair to the book itself.
Yeah, but that's also kind of what it promised.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of the setup for it, was like, it's going to reveal some stuff that we don't know about aliens, but it's also going to tie in a really fun fictional story, and kind of do it that way. And I guess I didn't necessarily feel that way with the story from start to finish. I didn't feel like it was anything like crazy. Right. Honestly, I would say the one big word that would kind of encompass how I feel about all of it was underwhelmed.
Yes.
Because
I would too.
Going through the entire book, it was like, there were some parts it was very exciting, it was action-packed, there's different storylines you're following, and it's exciting to see how they're going to come together, like you're anticipating that a lot. And then it does, and you're like, oh.
Okay. Yeah, like I
guess.
saw it coming.
Yeah.
You are anticipating it, and then what you anticipate does happen. It kind of is disappointing in itself, because you're like,
yeah,
well, I already figured it out, and it's already done.
Yeah, and you want to expect some unique telling, and honestly, like, it was an easy read. It was really easy for me to just cruise through this. I thought I was going to have a tougher time reading close to 700 pages than I did.
The way it's split up, and like it goes from person to person, so all the stories are basically separate stories until the end, where they all kind of combine and meet each other. But each chapter, it'll be like Jersey, and then Alan, and then Tamika, and then Jennifer, and then it kind of keeps recycling that.
So then every time you sit down and you kind of want to get an update on each of these characters, all of a sudden you've read 50 pages.
Right.
And it flew by.
Yeah.
So I'll give it props for that, because I was able to cruise through it. I thought the storytelling, like, not the actual story itself, but the way it was presented was really digestible. It wasn't told in a confusing way, which stories like this, like, there's a term I heard a while ago. I think it was more about, like, other conspiracy theories. I think it was actually about the JFK assassination, where they said you just get name salad.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you just get this and this and this, and all these different elements get thrown at you so much that you just, like, you get confused, and you just kind of accept things for the way they are rather than think about it critically. But I thought this was presented in a really easy to follow way. And I think there's something to say about that, where, like...
Yeah, I would say if I was young again, a little boy Fred, and if I saw this, like, in the store, and I was like, this classic book fair or something like that, this would be an awesome way to get into aliens and, like, into, like, UFOs and stuff like that. Like, this would be a really cool starter, because it basically comes all your alien stories into one book, and then adds story to them too. So that's the way I would honestly look at it. Now that I say that out loud, like, it'd be a really cool starter for, like, someone who's never really dug into it or anything like that. It's much more fun than, like, just bouncing around on, like, Wikipedia or something like that to, like, learn all these stories. So that's how I would look at it. Is like, if you are a very just getting into it, just kind of interested in aliens, it would be a really cool way to learn all these stories, instead of just, like, watching, like a historical, like a History Channel.
Ancient Aliens, the dude with the
that
aliens.
Guy. Like, I feel like this would be a good way to actually do it.
I couldn't agree more. And until you had said that, I didn't really think about that, because we're so
old,
experienced. We're so, we'll say, experienced in the alien realm, where all of these stories didn't feel like anything fresh to us. Like, the actual accounts within the book, the story itself and the way that moved along, that was however generic, it was a fresh story. But yeah, if you're new to the whole alien sphere or whatever you want to call it, this could be a really fun read. And yeah,
and it's an easy read too, and that's not in any way bad or anything like that. Like, it's an easy read because it's like you could pick it up, read a bunch of pages, put it down, and you're not really festering over it or like thinking about it. It's a good way to like keep your mind moving, but also at the same time, like, you're just kind of enjoying your time.
Yeah. Another thing I'll say I was impressed with was I thought I was going to get confused with all the different storylines going on, but every time it went, character 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're back to character 1. I knew exactly where we were picking up.
Yeah, I didn't like that a lot.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was like, wait, what was happening? Like, it had to be something in the writing where they were very intentional with leaving certain elements in, and like kind of repeating it without it feeling like it's telling the same thing again. But when they picked that story back up, it felt like you were picking up right where you left off, and I didn't feel lost through this. I don't want to say at all, but very much.
Yeah, I would say it's actually really impressive because, they went from like 1940s Germany sometimes to like modern day and back and forth. And like you knew by like the first sentence, like exactly where the other one ended.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah, they did a really good job of connecting that. And I'll also say on top of the like, or to follow up you could pick it up and you want to catch up on all the characters and you end up reading 50 pages. You could also pick it up. Each of the chapters were, we'll say, about 10 pages. Yeah. Was how it kind of worked out to be. So it was really easy to pick up, and if you have 5-10 minutes, boom, pick it up, read a chapter, and move on, and you don't lose anything there, I guess. Like, it's not like you feel lost. It's not like you're not going to remember that the next time you pick it up. So overall, just a really easy to read book, and I think there's a lot to say about that, where it wasn't a chore to try to keep track of any of it.
Like, honestly, if I was younger and I was just like, I was at this classic book fair in 4th, 5th grade or something like that, and this book was there, I might not pick it up because of how big it is, but like actually getting into reading it would be a good read, I think.
All in all, I'd have I don't know if I would say I'd 100% recommend it to everybody, especially if you're a little bit more well-versed in the alien stories and all the stuff like we are. It wasn't that exciting, but it wasn't bad either. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on whether or not.
If we're rating it, here's the thing. We started with some bangers for this channel. Like, we started with Intercepts, and then we did the David Sonnengren book.
Maggie's Grave.
Maggie's Grave. I read that other one too. The Navajo Nightmare.
Yep.
And those were just so good.
Yeah.
And they were quick, and they were like, everything about those books, I just loved them. And then this one, I just didn't love as much. So, not to be too harsh on it, but I gotta give it maybe like a 3.
Yeah, I was feeling, I'm right
5.
there. I was between 3 and 3.5 stars on it. Because, again, I picked it up. I cruised through it. I was able to read it. And, like, the vibes of it and everything, like, it was fun.
Yeah.
I did enjoy reading it, but that last maybe 15-20% of the book, I was like, are they going to tie this up? Is anything big going to happen? Is this? And then...
Yeah, towards the end, they really tied it up a little too quick for how long the book was, I thought.
Yeah.
Because I was getting towards the end of the book, and I was like, how are they going to wrap this up? Like, this, I got like 10 pages left, maybe. And I was like, it doesn't really feel anywhere close to the end.
Yep, totally agree. It felt like it was... Towards the end of the book, it felt like it was setting you up for a sequel, and that's it. It didn't feel like it was wrapping the story up, and then there's a little Easter egg at the end that it's like, oh, they're going to come up with another one, and you're going to... It felt like it was just... It felt more like a TV episode than a first movie in a series. Yeah. Where there's like that whole... it's setting up for the rest of this rather than a complete story that has an allusion to...
Right.
To what may happen next. And there was one line in the end, I'm going to see if I can find it quick, that I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
I could tell you my part that I hated at the end, but it'll be a big old spoiler. Yeah, are we getting into spoilers now?
I was gonna say I don't think we gave away any spoilers.
Yeah.
If we did, I'll edit them out or move them around or something. But if you were worried about spoilers and want to read this book, I guess in short, it was enough of a fun read, even with the knowledge that we have. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say don't read it. I wouldn't recommend not reading it. If you're interested in stuff like this, it's fun. Mm-hmm. Give it a go. Like we said, easy enough read that it's not a chore or anything like that. It still was really fun. So give it a go, pick it up, give it a read. If you don't care about the spoilers or whatever, keep watching.
Yeah.
Otherwise, skip to whatever the timestamp on the screen is. Skip towards the end of the video and find out what our next book of the book club book is. And we'll kind of go from there. Mm-hmm. But for now, there will be a few minutes right here where we'll talk about some specifics and get into some of the spoilers. So,
yes.
Again, skip ahead.
All right,
if you're going to read. Spoiler time.
Spoiler time. I hated the fact that they did not describe the alien.
Okay.
Hated it. I read 600 pages, and you can't even tell me what the alien looks like? After all that.
The only alien description was the people that were clearly people in suits.
Yeah, well, those don't even have to be
like
aliens. Yeah, those could be like mind control or... Well,
and those were people. They talked about a zipper on the back of the suits and how they were moving funny, like when Tamika got abducted.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
In that part, it was just like... Okay, these are people, and that was the only description. But then at the end, they just throw in a bit where Alan was like, "I definitely saw aliens."
Yeah, he like looked in the thing.
Really? What? Like?
Yeah, you could have spent at least a page or something, like saying what that is. And I kind of get like they want you to read the next book, but it's all just an introduction book essentially. And I feel like it could have been probably like way shorter.
Yeah, something we talked about was like if each of the 4 characters, if each of those were their own novella, and then they brought them together in another book, like that could be a really fun way to structure this. But to go through almost 700 pages worth of a book to feel like it was just set up for a sequel was kind of frustrating.
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming, definitely.
Is the perfect word for it, like you said.
It was just like you got to the end and I was like, I feel like I have to read the next book to get the satisfaction out of it, which I guess is, their goal ultimately, but like give me something.
Right.
And I did not feel like I got anything at the end.
Yeah, and I know you said Alan was your favorite character, but I did not care for Alan at all.
So character-wise, like as an actual character,
yeah, I think it was fine as an actual character.
I liked Jersey the best as an actual character. I liked Alan's story the most. I thought that was like a really cool...
That's what I mean.
That was the one that I was tied into. And like I felt the most maybe not connected, but the most curious about what was going to happen next was Alan's story.
Right.
Yeah,
that's where I disagree with you though. Because with the Alan story, it's basically just him learning how to fly a spaceship. And it's just like he just learns how to fly a spaceship. Yeah. And that's the whole story. And I guess...
Sorry, keep going.
No, I wasn't really saying anything. I was just talking.
I think the thing with Alan's that really intrigued me was like the possible reality of it. Or like we hear stories about Area 51 and things like that. So his story felt like it could be a bit of an answer of like what's going on at Area 51.
Right.
It felt like it was a little bit of that, whereas the other ones felt fully fictional.
Yeah.
Alan's story felt like there could be some nonfiction elements to it, or like, whoa, that really could be going on. There's these secret spaceships and all this stuff. And then it like stretched a little bit where it was like, oh, there's no G-force in it. Oh, you can go out of the atmosphere with no repercussions. Like how... So some of that felt a little far-fetched. Yeah. But overall, I think that may... I hadn't really thought about that up until now, but I think that may be what tied me to his story the most was like the potential reality of it.
Right.
But yeah, Jersey as a character, his storyline too, I felt like I kind of knew where that one was going, so I was less intrigued to like keep going. Yeah. Like I don't know. Alan's felt a little more unclear of the direction.
Yeah,
Although I don't know.
Yeah, I'd probably go Jerseys, Tamika, Jennifer, and then Alan for me.
Really?
Yeah, Jennifer's story was pretty generic too, honestly. I didn't
Jennifer's story was...
hers were usually pretty quick, though. I don't even know why they really needed her in the story.
Yeah, I don't feel like she moved anything along. Yeah.
Tamika, though, I like...
Until the end. At the end, Jennifer helped move stuff along, but like, I don't know. Like I said, if these were broken down into the 4 novellas, and then they had like their encounter at the end, be like a 5th novella that tied it all together.
Right.
If these were each 150-page books, I'd cruise through them.
Right.
And like, I think the format would be more appealing.
Right. So, a fine book.
Yeah. Overall, not too bad. What else? Oh, the one thing that at the end, there was just like I couldn't find it, but there was some super tacky line about like, friends. I thought about these people as friends for the first time, and I was like, get a grip.
Yeah, they like just met. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like, and I got to stand up for my friends. Whoa, they're my friends. And I was like, it's not about the destination. It's about the friends you make along the way. Like, it felt like that. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it would do a lot better with like younger, like if you were real young or, you know, it kind of is like, I don't want to say like Hunger Games or like Divergent or like those series.
Okay.
Like, but
just a young adult.
Yeah, just kind of like young adult. That's the category I would honestly put this in, is like young adults.
Which story. I don't know. Maybe we are warned of that somewhere.
Yeah, we might be
on here, but I don't know. Again, getting into the habit of reading and how new we are to that. It probably wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it also gave us some insight into what works for us, and now we know like the young adult type novels just don't hit the same way.
Yeah, I would like more mystery, more surprising. I don't want to be able to predict a lot of the book or what's happening with it. But it's a fine book. I hate to be so tough on Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you there. Like I don't know. Not bad, not great. Not going to read it again. That's for sure.
Not going to read the next one.
I'll
say that much.
Chances are I am not going to read that next one. There's so many other great stories out there.
Yeah,
this one was just like, if the story is told the same way in the second book, I'm going to be like,
yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to be as bought in. And if they just keep feeding it as read the next book. Oh, read the next book. Like, make something actually happen at the end.
Right.
And I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I'm willing to guess if you went up to like a random person on the street and you asked them, like you gave them the back of this book and you're like, guess how this ends, they would be able to guess it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like if you told them, you know, it's 4 people, there's aliens.
Yep.
What do you think happens by the end of it?
And I took a few notes on my phone throughout this book. And I remember having in the beginning, like, I'm excited to see how these 4 stories come together. I was like 5 chapters in, maybe so what, like page 50, page 70, somewhere in that range. And I was already like, okay, I know these are all tying together. I'm starting to look for those connecting pieces. Like, and then them coming together didn't actually happen till like page 600 or so.
Yeah.
Where it's like that far into the book and it's like, okay, I knew exactly what was going to happen, which like, I don't know, that's not saying I'm able to predict the books and blah, blah, blah. It's just so generic that, like, you know they're coming together, and I don't know. If you're if you're not into the alien thing, but you want to get into it, this is a perfect book for you to kick that off. If you're already into it, chances are you're not going to be...
You know most of this.
Yeah. And in that same vein, like, look at it for... We'll call it the educational side of it, where you learn the stories, you learn some of the terminology and things like that, but don't look into it for like the biggest twist at the end and this and that. There was a decent twist, but I don't know. I can't say I saw it coming, but I was not shocked at all when the twist came up. When you found out that DeLonge or whatever his name was, was also, what was his name? Starts with an H, like the CIA guy.
Yeah, his
Hatcher.
Alan's trainer.
Hatcher.
Yeah.
Because Borat.
Oh yeah.
Morat, not Borat.
Yeah, not Borat.
Morat was the good guy, or Morat was the bad. I don't know. Whatever it was.
Yeah, you get it. It's
you can tell that. Yeah, one guy is also another guy.
Yeah.
And you think he's a good guy in one world, and you think he's a bad guy in the other, and he ends up being the same guy, and you're just like, ah, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I did not have like a oh my god moment where I was just like, that was, what a twist. I didn't see that coming. It was just like, yeah, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Let's keep going.
How many more pages? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think between us two, you comfortable with I don't know, I'm feeling 3.
I'm feeling a strong 3.
A solid 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So take that for what it's worth. What was April's book of the month turned into April and May's book of the month.
Yep.
But that being said,
July
book of the month, if you want to join us on that, will be Dungeon Crawler Carl. That book's kind of having a moment online. I've seen it all over the place. People have been talking about it.
Every bookstore you go into, it's like one of the first ones.
Yeah, tons of copies of them there. I think there's 7 books out currently, and we just saw the author said he planned on writing about 10. However, he said nothing is set in stone, so could go one way or the other.
Yep.
I mean, who knows? But if it ends up being as fun and as, I don't know what word I'm looking for. It's like, it's just such a popular series right now, and like there's got to be a reason for that. So if it lives up to its hype, that'll be a fun series. Yeah.
To that, Seth MacFarlane's going to make it into a TV show.
Yeah.
So and I mean, he did the Orwell and stuff like that, or Orville. So I would say if Seth MacFarlane's making a show, I bet it'll be pretty good. I like a lot of his stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Grew up on Family Guy, so.
Yeah. Yeah. But that book's having a moment right now. We figured we'd lean into it, see what all the hype was about. Hopefully engage with the community a little bit in the discussion around it. But I'm really excited to dive into that one. That'll be our
July
book of the month. Join us on that if you want. We have a Fable book club and our Discord servers. Links will be in the description for both of those, and you can join us and kind of keep that conversation going. I'm sure most people watching this have probably already read it because of how popular it is right now. But if you haven't, join us in that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I want to know what you guys think of us being kind of harsh on this book. Because if you've read it, I want your honest opinions on it. I feel like we were a little harsh on it. I know I was harsh on it, but I feel strongly about it. Like, I feel like for a 600-page book, make me want to read 600 pages.
Yeah.
You know?
It did not live up to what I wanted it to be. It again, still a bunch of fun, but like, it had the potential to be so much more than what it was.
Right.
And I think that was kind of the big letdown, was like, damn, this started off really strong.
Exactly.
I was so bought in for the first 200 pages. Started to slow down a little bit, but by page 450 probably, I was like, let's go. Yeah. Come on.
All right, guys. Well, that's the end of this month's book of the month. Thanks for watching. Multiple months. Let us comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for traveling to the Frightful Frontier with us. Anything you guys say?
Nah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.